Welcome to the MS&Me Radio Network, a division of the Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network. The following program broadcast is an original creation by the broadcast entity. Discussion within the following broadcast should be used for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice or consultation. Before considering application of any broadcast content in the following program, please consult your healthcare provider. If you feel you are having a medical emergency, please contact your local health services for immediate assistance. MS&Me Media and the Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network do not guarantee or warrant the accuracy of information in the broadcast to follow. The Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network provisions broadcast services to program hosts. Information discussed in the broadcast does not necessarily reflect the views, opinions, or goals of the network and are solely those of the show broadcast host. Should you wish to host a broadcast, please visit our website at msmemedia.com and submit a request to become a program host. We thank you for listening to the MS&Me Radio Network. Enjoy the show.
Welcome. You are listening to Ugly Like Me on the MS&Me Radio Network, powered by the MS Global Support Network. We always start with a big shout out to Erica, our station manager, and the staff who helps her keep this going 24/7 internationally. That can't be fun. I'm not sure how Erica sleeps, so I always give her a big shout out. So, woo! So, with me in the studio today is Papa, my husband, also known as Tony. Say hi, babe.
Hi, Mama. Hi, everybody.
Give them, because he came on the show, I figured it would be nice to give him the sound effects. Go. Yeah. There you go. We're starting on a positive tip. So we decided to do this segment on MS, the love story. And I think a lot of marriages, when you think of marriage and disease coming in, we think of ugliness and things like that. And, Ugly Like Me is about not everyone has MS, but everybody has something. And if we bring them to light, really they make us stronger. And I feel like they did make us stronger, babe.
I totally agree.
Are you, reading your phone?
No, I'm actually trying to stop the background from timing out while we have the counter on.
I thought you were, totally bored, tweeting.
Not
and
at
I was
all.
like, that is so not cool.
There's a setting on here where you can do it so your screen doesn't lock.
Okay.
So we can see the timer the whole time.
I was about to go like this and vomit on you.
So, sorry. We won't bother with that.
So why don't you tell our audience how we met, babe?
Okay.
I'm kind of curious to see if you remember.
Oh, I totally do.
I think our versions, because of my cognitive poor memory impairment, I think they might be a little... Mine would be different, possibly.
Maybe. I'm not sure. I don't know. You seem to... I think we seem to be on the same page there.
I think it's sort of instinctive. It's part of my DNA.
Yeah, agree.
And I just know how that kind of love started.
Well, so long story short, we both lived a town over from each other. And at the time, I was just starting to get into running. And it was becoming my new favorite thing. So when you run, you need good sneakers. So there was I was working out at the YMCA in Montclair, New Jersey, and there was a store called Fleet Feet Sports, which
we should give him a woo. How do we woo?
Fleet Feet.
That's
so
Fleet Feet.
Fleet Feet Sports was very close to the Y, so I figured I will go over to Fleet Feet and see if I can buy some sneakers or find some good sneakers. And I walked in and I saw you there, and immediately I was like, wow. I was like, and I said,
don't
geez,
think there's a key for you that I have. I was like, wow.
This one?
No, it was more like the woo.
So I immediately tried to get you to be my salesperson, which you weren't, actually. You were helping someone already. And the other girl was there, so she helped me. But I was trying to talk to both of you at the same time, but more so trying to talk to you instead of her.
Oh, you know what? And she asked me to get your phone number. Is that the
For
girl?
her, yes.
For her, and she wanted to go running with you.
Yes.
And I was so sad. And I remember the first words I said to her when I saw you. I saw you interacting with somebody, and your eyes were smiling, and your face was lit up, and you looked so nice. And the first words I ever said were, "That guy is gonna make a great dad." And honestly, of all your wonderfulness, you're a great dad. Actually, it pisses me off because I can't beat you in the parental department. So, yeah, and go ahead, babe. I'll shut up.
Well, don't be mad.
Don't be mad.
I had a good
Thank
trainer
you.
in my mom, so she's tough to beat.
She is so tough to beat. She's awesome.
So, yeah, so I ended up buying sneakers and then left. But the whole time, so I didn't come back for probably a few weeks. And I remember I was with my friend Ben at the time, and I said, I have to go back into that store.
Oh, Ben, he was so nice.
Yeah, and I have to find that girl. And I went back in, and you were working.
Near the counter? Was
Yeah,
by the
yep.
counter?
And then we talked for probably a good half an hour. And then as I was about to leave, I was going to try to ask you out, but I was too scared, so I didn't. But then you had said to me, "Are you doing any races?"
That was such a big joke.
Yeah.
This is funny.
And then I said, "Oh, well, actually, I am. I'm doing this trail run down by the New Jersey shore, and it was part of a series, and it was the winter series, and
Hartshorn.
Yeah, the Hartshorn run, and so that's what I'm doing that this weekend." And you're like, "Well, that's so funny because so am I."
I was totally lying, and I'm so sorry. And I lived with somebody, but I just, I don't know. It was destiny, and I lied. And that race was hell.
It was.
I felt like I was running on a mountain, but I only had about 6 inches, and I had men who ran like in front of me, and we ran out in times according to what pace we could keep, and I overestimated my pace. So I had guys yelling at me like, "Get out of the way!" But I was gonna jump off a mountain, so I the whole time just sucked at running up thing, and then I just had snot frozen to my face.
It's so funny because that was like one of my all-time favorite races.
Really?
And yeah, I loved it. And then I remember finishing, and there was a gym. It was like at a little school, like there was a school or something there, something like that. And we're sitting in a gym
with chowder.
Yeah,
something.
eating clam chowder, and it was cold. And I remember sitting in there, and I sat there for an hour. And I'm like, okay, I guess she didn't come. I'll just leave. And as I stood up to throw my stuff out, that garbage, you came walking in the gym door, and you had to say your nose was frozen, and it was like
I was
you
in
looked
such
like heck.
shape.
You were like, and I was like, hey, and you're like, oh my God, you're here, and I was like, I didn't think you came, and then we sat down, and then you ended up eating some chowder to get warm, and I think we had coffee and stuff, and then we made our way back outside.
We sat on a rock.
And then we ended up going down towards the water, the ocean, and we sat there for like, it was a couple hours, I think it was. Yeah. And we just talked, and then we had exchanged email addresses.
But you know what? We didn't. I remember we finally ended it, and we got in our cars.
Oh yeah,
and then you drove off in front of
and
me. And then I was like, "What am I doing?
Yes,
I
that's
can't
right.
let him go."
Yeah.
It felt so wrong. And so I actually stopped the car before you turned out a lot, and I banged on your window, and I was like, "Do you have an email?"
That's right.
And it started from there, and that was sort of the end of it. We kind of, I don't know, we lived with each other a week later.
Well, yeah, it was 3 weeks later you moved in.
Yeah. So, and then I think 5 months later we were engaged.
Yep, Boston.
And all that goodness. And now we're going on, babe, I forget this all the time, 14 years, 15 years? We're on 14.
14 marriage, 15 together.
Yeah, that's a woo. And it's been, we have 2 babies now, and
they're not babies anymore.
Professions, and they're growing up, and MS, we've been through almost a decade of MS, and I feel like we've been through a heck of a lot, and I feel like we've kicked butt. I've got to say that. So anyway, this is about that's the love story part of it. But now we're going to get into the marriage, and marriage is always a little. Uh, it's not that romantic. Marriage is marriage romantic
In the beginning.
in the beginning, right? When
Yeah.
you move in,
Yeah.
but once you have babies and stuff, it's like, and like
Everything
serious
changes.
bills, and it gets a little crazy. So we're going to go to the crazy part. When I was diagnosed with MS, um, how did you feel when I started to get sick? Did you notice I was getting sick before
Well,
I was diagnosed?
yeah, I think so, because I think you started having issues like walking and things like that. I think that was more of the obvious signs, and then the running and falling while running and things like that. So there was some kind of disconnect there, obviously. Um, and then it was a while, before you were actually diagnosed.
I think I
So
was really tired
that's
too.
another thing. I think that's
I
where,
was sitting down on the playground at school.
yep. And
with
then
children.
that was, I was going to say, that's the other big thing was the fatigue.
I remember we wanted another baby, and I kept saying, I think I need a checkup
Yeah.
because I don't know why I'm so tired and
Mm-hmm.
how I'm going to keep doing this,
Yeah.
and then adding a baby to
It was
that.
just not ordinary either. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's fatigue, but then this was different.
This was totally
This
different.
was totally different.
So,
And I guess, in terms of how I felt, to be totally honest with you, I don't think it really sunk in
I don't think so either.
until like we really started to get into it. Because I just thought you'd be tired, and and every now and then just have trouble walking.
With the MS.
Yeah.
And I think
So,
that has a lot to do with the way we saw my sister handle her MS.
well, yeah, I think so, because we knew it was in it, but she was, I don't want to say fine, but
She looked completely fine and
Yeah.
dealt with it in a fine fashion.
so when you hear, you were just tired. So I think in my head I was more like, okay, well that's good because now we know, and then they'll give you something, and you'll feel much better.
And did it work that way?
No.
No.
Not even close.
Then you learn quickly that
It was way
different.
different. Yeah.
Yeah. And they forgot to do an MRI of my spine, so I thank God I changed doctors because the spinal cord was the most affected. I basically have a spinal cord injury. That's what it always typically says in the
Yeah.
reports.
Yeah.
So how do you think it changed us?
Well, at first, I think, I think how it changed you, I think in the beginning you were angry, and you were, new 6-month-old son, already young daughter, you get a diagnosis like that, you get angry. You're like, why? Why is this happening? How's this going to affect my life? And then, and something like that, you kind of kept in. And I think with, me handling the kids and the bills and all that kind of stuff like that, I think we didn't really communicate too well, the whole thing. So you kept your anger and everything inside. So that was a big, I think it started out as anger, I think,
Yeah,
more than anything.
Is anger the first part of the grief, the stages of grief?
It probably,
I can look it up on my phone. It might be shock.
yeah, I would think. But then I think a lot of people turn angry
You know what?
because they say why, and they associate the why with being mad, and you're like, well, that's ridiculous. Why?
It's funny though because I always say that I never said, "Why me?" Because I really did think, "Why not me?" But so it's funny. I think I denied on another broadcast. With my niece Sophie, who has a chronic illness, that I didn't get angry, but I kind of did, just not your typical anger. Like, I think I isolated. I think you were doing amazing things with our children, and I could hear you outside the doors, and I knew I couldn't move, and I was losing everything quickly, and I kind of felt jealous, I think. Like,
Yeah.
there was a resentment. But then you would come in and you would invite me like out to something like, say, a 4th of July barbecue, and it was very hot and it was an hour and a half away, and I knew I'd have to sit outside in the back where it was hot, and I knew I couldn't do it and my body couldn't handle it. So you would ask me and I would get angry. Like, why does he have to put me through that? Because then I'd just say no and I'm the buzzkill. And then, why doesn't he know that I can't be in the heat? Or I don't know. I think I went through that and I became very selfish. And I didn't realize that for like about a year,
Mm. Yeah.
And honestly, you were you were so tired from waking with the baby. HA Meatball was just 6 months old. Waking with the baby, we had a 4-year-old. Worrying about the bills, logistically, I mean, I had 2 jobs, but I would have to stay home so much that they were deducting a lot of money out of my paychecks per day. My peers even tried to give me their days off, but the administration wouldn't let them. So you had to deal with that. You had to deal with my own sickness, which included giving intramuscular shots in the beginning. But what do you think changed us?
I don't know. I think we kind of, you know, I, I think after a while, me in particular, I think I started to understand more, and I kind of was able to empathize and have a better understanding and appreciation what you were going through.
Oh my gosh, because that would be my answer.
Yeah, so
For
it's
you.
like, but I'll be totally honest, it took a while. Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't easy. I was angry myself. I was like, you know, get up. Like, come on, you can help me. You look fine, but you don't, and that's the whole problem with MS.
Yeah.
And it's tough to admit and to say because you feel like a bad person.
It's okay.
I mean, it's your wife, but looking at you at the surface, like everyone does now, you don't know, and I would just think you're being lazy. And so to take care of the kids and do the laundry and the grocery shopping and the bills and work and I was tired and I was angry because I was getting no help.
Yeah.
But then as you start to understand and realize, okay, this is the real deal, and this is how you feel, and this is, you're sick and this makes you sick. I start to realize, okay, things have to change. I had to have a better attitude. I had to be more understanding, learn more about it, just it's make it a part of my life.
I think the hardest part, I was just talking to somebody with MS. I don't want to give it away, but their partner, keeps bothering them in the sense, get up, you're being lazy, and the person hasn't had their treatment in 3 months, and just implying that she's lazy and she's actually very sick and she hasn't had her treatment. And that's probably the biggest, I think, disconnect, which is actually a pun because MS is really a disconnected virus. Disconnect in marriages is that you cannot see MS. Like, I'm not bandaged up. I don't have I did have a broken foot for. I'm such a dork. Should we throw up on that one or just give it a woo?
Yeah,
I
no.
did try to do the dare I always say, like, while you're feeling good, like, move. So I really did try to take that dare. And I saved my child's life that day. I just had to break my foot or whatever, tear every ligament in it to keep her alive. Okay, so I have to keep going. I was just going to say, though, there's no bandage on us. So I think a lot of times the most important thing is to communicate and to speak and remind the person, because it's really hard to get through to the other person.
It is.
Real quick, I'm going to ask you, I'm just curious. You said that you had to learn about it, okay?
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you a couple basic questions, but you have to be quick because we only have a few minutes.
Okay.
So what is MS?
What is MS?
It's a big one.
It essentially, in a nutshell, you have like myelin covering your nerves,
Oh my gosh, babe.
and the
That's
myelin
good.
degenerates,
Yes.
and it basically disintegrates, and it causes the way your body communicates and sends signals. It stops the signals,
Oh my gosh.
So-
Give yourself a woohoo and give me a fist bump, babe. Papa, that
So,
was really good.
Yeah, and it basically stops your communication, which then, like when you have your drop leg and things like that, or
Drop like socks.
or
but-
memory loss and stuff like that. It's because the way your body communicates with each other can't properly communicate.
Great. That was actually really great. I didn't think you were going to know that. I'm sorry. Like, I know how you know my MS.
Yeah, no, I
But I
understand.
didn't know
Yep.
if you knew the technical. Do you know how many forms of MS there are?
Yes, 4.
Shut up. Really? I said 3 the other day. I didn't realize there was a 4th now.
Yeah.
So I'm actually really proud of you. Can you try to name them?
Yeah. Let's see. It was relapsing, remitting.
And then you have to say which one you think I have.
Okay. Yeah. Relapsing, remitting, primary, progressive and secondary progressive.
Right.
And then progressive relapsing. Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, babe. You're really paying attention.
And
So-
then,
I think progressive relapsing is the new one, and it's the most rare, and it's characterized by the steadily worsening symptoms.
yeah. And I would have to say that would probably be what you're in. I think the biggest thing is the slow worsening of symptoms, because your symptoms aren't just happening overnight. It's
So that
been
would be
time.
primary progressive.
Primary progressive. That's what I would say.
Yeah, so that about 15% of people have primary progressive.
Yeah, and I think that probably that 15% has to do with amount of lesions and things like that.
Yeah, and where they are. See, I was
Yeah.
diagnosed as relapse remitting, which is 85% of the population. But because of, where the lesions are, I agree with you, babe. I think I'm primary progressive at this point, especially with the new lesion at the top of the neck, this brainstem, tip of the spinal cord. What's the success rate for marriages people with MS?
Yeah, you had told me this. It's like 95 or 98%, somewhere in that range.
Yes,
right?
that's close enough, babe. Yeah. So, but why do I find that ironic? Do you know why I find that ironic?
Yeah, because like it's almost the same number as the divorce rate for families with someone with Down syndrome. Is that
With
correct?
Autism.
Autism.
On the
autism.
spectrum.
That's what
Very
it is,
close.
yeah.
I used to be a teacher in special needs, and so I find those stats just totally weird. Okay, and now one last question.
Mm-hmm.
What and this is really just, I did an informal survey. What do you say to somebody when they say, "Oh, I've got MS," or "My wife has MS," or whatever? Like, I still don't know, so I did
Yeah.
a survey on it. What do you think the best answer is?
Geez, that sucks. No, I'm just
Jeez,
kidding.
that sucks. I've had people go, I know, I read it, I saw it, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't have a cold. And then I've had other people like totally freak out like I was going to die the next day.
Yeah, sure.
And they barely knew me.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I had to comfort them.
I think the best thing you could say, and even I think this is just in general,
Mm-hmm.
but obviously this is geared toward MS. It's just that you understand and kind of just offer them your availability. I guess maybe you want to say
Yeah.
you're like
Like,
I'm
here?
yeah I understand, and if you need to talk about it or you need help,
Yeah. I think
you know.
I've concluded the only thing you can say to somebody who, discloses their sickness to you is that I'm here for you when you're ready to
Yeah,
talk
that's-
about it. And if you need anything, just.
yeah, that's basically what I was saying. Yeah,
Because everything else just sounds really stupid. Like, is it contagious?
yeah.
One of them was, has it gone away yet? And it's just one of my closest friends. I won't
Has
say
it
his name.
gone
I'll tell you,
away
babe.
yet?
You don't know who texted me that? He's like, oh, you still have it?
I think I do.
Okay,
I
we
think
won't
so.
we won't throw him under a bus.
I do remember that, actually, you saying that.
And I was like, "Are you serious?"
Yeah, kind of. You took NyQuil and it was gone.
It was gone. Yeah, I took some Mucinex and it was
Yeah.
over. So, do you have tips for caregivers?
Yeah. I think, you can probably, one of the best things you could do is educate yourself, I would say.
Hallelujah.
You
Is there an
know,
amen button?
I don't know, but we got a woohoo.
Good. Good. Did our doorbell
But
just
was
ring?
that the doorbell? I think it
Okay,
might
well,
have been.
we're going to keep going.
Okay.
We're almost done.
Yeah, I think Yeah, I would say educate yourself, learn about it, understand what's going to happen because you're going to need that because in the beginning it's tough. So having the know of what the disease is and how it works will be a big, big help without question. I think another thing you could do is probably like I would say communication. Besides education, definitely communication. Um, it again like when we had mentioned to go fall back on in the beginning how it was tough because we weren't communicating with each other and stuff like that. So I think that's I think the best thing is one of the best things is communication.
Can I say something
Yeah,
else?
yeah, sure.
I think on both sides, you need to really be kind to each other in it. You're both going through something traumatic. And this isn't a solo sport. MS, if anything, is a team sport. And, I have a good friend, Kristen Cifelli, and on her, she's a musician, on her CD, Middle of Nowhere, she says that love is the benefit of the doubt. And I think we always need to give our caregivers the benefit of the doubt. They're not mind readers. You're so busy doing other things and just trying to stay alive. Like, you were so tired. And I was really worried about you getting sick. And you did get sick. And I think one of the best things I did for you to show you how much I appreciated you, besides the 18 hugs a day and always touching you, I word PDA, annoying people, but was to buy you a bike.
Yeah.
Because
best thing ever.
I bought him this for our anniversary. He said he wanted to cycle. I couldn't move, but he could. And I bought him a bike, a really cheap one from Walmart. And now his bikes are worth more than my car.
Both our cars, I think.
Both our cars put together. And we have a go button. Hit the go button.
Oh, yeah.
But he's a fabulous cyclist, and I think that training really helps you.
Yeah,
it's therapeutic for you, and it makes you feel good.
That's another tip. I think definitely have something to focus on, whether it be a hobby or some doing things with your kids or some things where you can take your mind off where you need a little break from doing all the other things. So for me, it's definitely cycling that helps a lot.
Amen. It's not my 18 hugs a day.
Yeah, that definitely helps.
That is statistical. And also, we do the plank challenge together because I can't really move my legs, so I kind of get strong where I can. So you can find us on YouTube, just Ugly Like Me plank challenges, Jamie, Titus, and Tony. And we look really stupid, and sometimes our kids are in it or whatever, but it's something we do as fun together. And we're silly, I think, together, and that's the most important thing.
That certainly helps.
I don't know. I love you, and I know that when I fall, you carry me. Any bad situation, you've lifted me up. You've put ugly compression socks on me. You've come and gotten me from work. You've brought me to the hospital. You've just showed up for me, and that's what love is. It's not always romantic. No. Sometimes it's ugly white compression socks.
We made a commitment when we were married, right?
You so took it to the nth degree, and I knew it when he said you had to give me intramuscular shots, and you looked at his hands and you said, where? How do I do it? Show me now. And I knew then that we really were a love story. So that's our MS love story. Thank you so much for listening to Ugly Like Me. Tone, you want to say bye?
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm sorry, I'm trying to turn the alarm off.
I'll always have you.
Thanks for having me on the show, I meant.
All right, give me a kiss.
Love you.
Love you, babe.